But here we are, boys and girls. 26 minutes late, and Phil Galfond off to an early start.
If you notice throughout the course of this one, they're not doing top ups. As far as Brandon Adams is concerned, I've seen his stack down to 12,000 at the start of hands. He's not restarting stacks. They're taking elongated breaks. They're going to be taking a 20-minute break at, I believe it is 1 o'clock, and a 40-minute break later in the day. So we're going to have different break schedule. We're going to have different stack sizes. This is going to be a very different match than what we've witnessed before. But we have some actual poker happening here. I think
We
this is one
do.
of the most significant hands that has potential on the left hand side. This King 3, Queen 7. It was 3-bet pre-flop and then barreled by Brandon Adams. We've seen these spots a lot. If Phil puts it in on the turn, he obviously has some like 2-pair combinations alongside some straight draws, flush draws, etc. But if he was to just flat that turn, then what we're going to expect in his range is maybe like a 1-pair massive draw type of hand, like a full wrap, flush draw, etc. that has no equity and also has no fold equity. It was folded by Brandon Adams, but I just like paying attention to those particular spots because it seems time and time again that it develops kind of interestingly. And it shows a lot about their ranges in those spots. But all for naught, he just folded. And speaking of putting on a show, Henry, before this, and there's some comments out there about it, this was a live match. It was being hosted over at Resorts World. It was between Phil and Brandon, obviously. And there's a little bit of controversy that happened due to the play slowing down to what one party deemed unacceptable. They decided to just null and void the entire live portion. I think Phil won 16,000 over there and move the remainder online, which is why we're now doing this 10K hands so that they can finish their bout in the ring, if you will. 400,000 for Mr. Phil Galfond to the 100,000 of Dr. Octagon, aka Brandon Adams. Oh wait, hold on. We have a hand real fast before we get back to your Turkish tea, Henry.
There we go.
Check result, turn, Mr. Galfond, 7 completes multitudes of straights. You got the 5-3, the 5-8, the 8-9. So we could see a full pot size bet here by Brandon Adams. And I'd expect some calls by Phil. Obviously his straights are going with it, but like let's say he has jacks and 10s. Basically a lot of his 2 pairs with an 8 or a 9. 8's the best blocker though. Blocks the 8-9 and the 8-5. So, potential, Henry, potential.
Yeah, for sure. So check, raise, turn. I did miss the flop action. That looks like a single raise pot.
You remember how we used to be able to construct it entirely where we're like, oh, well, based off of the 9,000 pot size, there's clearly 1 raise pre-flop, 2 raises after that, and then on the turn was a check raise, and now we're like, that's a lot of money. He bet a lot of money, guys.
All right, give us a couple of days. Yeah, well, it's single raise pot, check flop, check raise turn for pot, right?
Sounds right. Looks
70.
Right. Oh, does get the call. Has second nuts, the 5-8. So Brandon had the low end of the wrap. There's a 4-6 out there. Brandon Adams had the 5-7-8. A 9 would also make him the second nuts with a queen high straight. Gets a call off. Wins a nice little 27K pot. This is a very different match, a very different format. You know, we've hit those live session. We've got those live reads in, or not. Who knows? We have longer breaks. We have stack resets at different point. We don't have auto top ups in. So I think it's just going to be interesting overall, Henry, as to how this one looks differently, how this one changes than the past matches. And obviously, for my end, as much as we think Brandon Adams is an enigma, as smart as he is, as intelligent as he is, It's hard to say anyone other than Phil Galfond ends up with the bread because 7 matches in, it's almost like betting against anyone named Phil in the poker industry is stupid.
Wow.
I've made
He's
a lot of money
still,
betting on Phil Hellmuth. People hate him, but Hellmuth is he's one of the great Phils. Galfond's one of the great Phils. You know, once we see a comeback from Ivy again, he put his name back in contention. Let's go with a 4 bet on the flop, 3 bet on the flop. It's bet by Phil, check raised by Brandon, and it's a weird sizing, 7,400 there. So I feel like his wraps, his 5, 7, 8, 10s, whatever, are going to want to put more pressure out there, if I'm not mistaken. So this is just a very interesting sizing from Phil.
Yeah, it does. I mean, sets up a SPR of 1 going to the turn. Trying to think of hands that would want to do that. Obviously, a 57 completing. As well as the 5 deuce. Potential to see some leads here from Brandon. There it is. Putting Phil in.
How do you feel about that lead when we have a rainbow board? You think he's going to have a variety of bluffs in there of any nature?
Oh, wow.
Okay, so had it. The fade 2. I think we made reference to it earlier, Henry. We said that we can leave it overnight. We finish for the day. We shut it down, and we kick it back up the morning. And we're like, everything's going to be perfect. Our cameras are frozen too. Everything's going to be perfect. We're good to go. Spot on. Amazing. And yet somehow, obviously the next day there's plenty of issues with it. And even today, we go off for a 10-minute break and we come back and nothing's changed. And somehow, without fail, the entire thing has decided to take a little bit of a shit on us. So, ladies and gentlemen,
this was just a 15-minute break.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen between today and tomorrow. What I do know, though, is Brandon Adams saying, let's run it. And Phil's saying, okay, let's play our first 40-ish K pot of the day. Pot since coming back from break. 2 pair for Brandon, no good. Just pushing equity on the turn. Pair, nut flush draw. Phil with top and bottom. Finding the hold, and I did text Phil on break. Phil believes he is up around about a buy-in. Coming back from the break. I'm just confirmed that is the case.
So that would now mean he's up
20.
2 buy-ins?
I believe on plus 20, minus 20 off tables.
And I'm getting
with
your
40k
camera
on 2 new tables. So I think that's right.
So I apologize, ladies and gentlemen, for the interference here. For those of you that inevitably will tell me there's an easier way to do it. Oh.
What on earth is going on? Is it frozen again?
Yours was. I'm going to get a replay over on table 1 because we somehow magically ended up with another all-in. Let me see if I can pull that one up fast enough. Boom, back-to-back hands. First we had that 2 pair kings and 3s for Phil versus a gutty and nut flush draw for Mr. Brandon Adams. And then we just saw a 3-bet pot. Phil Galfond 3-bet it, pre-flop, 1,800. Brandon Adams calls. Flop is Queen, Jack, 6, 2 hearts, 1 diamond. Phil bets half pot. Brandon puts in the 9K raise. Phil asks a question, says, do you want to play for it? He does. Phil had ace, ace, deuce, 4, 3 hearts, so he has a flush draw and the overpair. And Brandon Adams had all 3 pairs, the queens, the jacks, and the 6s, alongside a 7. He turned a full house, queens full of jacks, and then the river popped off an ace of diamonds. giving Phil the bigger full house, 2 out on the river for a 40K pot. And that leaves Phil up 40,000 right off the bat. First 5 minutes of break, 2 hands back to back. And Brandon is sitting out already on table 1. What do you think about them apples, Henry?
Yeah, I mean, Phil up around about 60K on the day now. I mean, I don't know. Alarm bells ringing off in your head? Are you thinking, yeah? You're just like three buy-ins?
I think it was just
Call
the
it a day?
rapidness of it all. I don't think it has to do with the buy-in size. There's another half a buy-in right there, 9-5 of clubs for Phil. I think we're going to see probably sit out from Brandon in the big blind. We saw this as Chance. Chance lost 3 to 5 buy-ins in rapid succession after a break, and we went on another 10, 15, 20-minute break, and then he quit for the day. So let's see.
Yeah, I mean, we've all been winded by poker before, right? We've all been winded by a turn card or a river card. Poker can do that to you, for sure.
Yeah. And let's
Introduce
point
any
out,
back
Henry.
in Vegas, Henry? I am...
Sorry. Go ahead.
I didn't hear what you said, mate.
Well, I was just going to point out that right before this, we comment on how slow a match it's been. So it goes from this ultra slow, pacing, slow match to that happened. I think that's just a part of it too.
Yeah. Yes. And also, I mean, I feel like there have definitely been times where I've been in a type of game like that.
Hold on.
Wow,
Another
big
one.
check jam.
Oh,
Big check jam from Brandon, and well, spoke about 2 outers, binked one on the turn and got paid off. 40K pot going his way. Top set on the flop for Phil versus a turned top set.
set versus set, turn set. And we have another board texture on the left-hand side that lends itself to getting it in there, as we have 2 flush draws of multitudes of straight draws available. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Wouldn't be too surprised to see Phil just flat this and not go ahead and get in with a lot of his high equity draws. We've had that conversation a lot of different times, Henry. He does get it in. I think we're going to see.
Obliged.
And he does nail the river. He had the best hand already. That's not a hand I'm surprised to see him get in with on the turn, because he had a lot of equity with his ace-queen. Obviously, he has 2 flush draws. But Brandon is just going to have so many different draws that his ace-queen is going to be ahead the vast majority of the time. And even if Phil's not ahead, then he has the backup of the 2 flush draws. Brandon Adams is Dr. Octagon. Hey guys, is Phil Galfond, located on the top of your screens. How many hands do you think you play in a tournament? Is that what we were going to say?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think the bracelet that you want.
Well, which one?
Wait.
I could actually tell you the exact count on the online tournament because I have the entire footage from top to bottom of that one. I could tell you the number of hands on that. Live, though, because you're looking at a 3-day event, and let's just say, how many hours do you play a day? Probably 10 hours of actual play for the first 2 days, and let's just say 30 hours. We'll put 30 hours on that. 30 hours, probably 2 orbits every, I'd say 20. God, it's PLO 8, so I'm trying to think. That's a good question. I would say 30 hands an hour. So you're talking about roughly 1,000 hands for the entire tournament.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
How weird is that? Like, you think of a tournament and you're thinking you're playing forever and it's going. This is just the longest thing, 3 days long, and then you stop and think about it, you're like 1,000 hands. That is nothing.
To win $250,000 on a bracelet.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's a dangerous rabbit hole to dive down, right? In terms of like variance and whatnot. It's sick because there's a tournament where you win 8 flips and you win the tournament and
Ooh,
200k.
left hand.
Big pot, by the way. Yeah. Bill with the check jam. Oh, sorry, not check jam. Sorry, jamming over the top of Brandon Adams. Pot size river bet. I'm trying to think of bluffs here. I mean, 986. One of the bluffs for sure.
I didn't witness the betting up until this point. Got a little carried away in conversation, but structure of it all looks like raise pre-flop. Potentially is 3-bet pre-flop. And then half pot size on the flop, check turn, and now this leads us to the river. Is a natural one for a $7,200 sizing. So, yeah. Brandon could be left there with an overpair of aces or kings if he 3-bet pre-flop, and now he has this huge decision to make.
Yes, it's a good point actually. It's 7,200 in the middle. So 3-bet pot would be 3,600 to flop, and then a half pot sizing going in on the flop, check turn. But I feel like if you haven't played these types of, you know, heads up for rolls, excuse me, styled, you know, matches, they could be rather draining on you both, yeah, well, mentally and physically. Certainly take their mental toll.
Well, it looks like it's taking a toll on Brandon Adams as he is sitting out a little prematurely. It's only 3:12. It's hard to say anymore when we're taking breaks and when we're not. Maybe this is an extended break. Hopefully, once they take their 40-minute break, we'll get a text from Phil letting us know so that we can relay that to y'all.
The Cure saying, got really into fitness this summer. Love to fucking hear that, man. That's, yeah. Been on the health grind. And the mental edge that it gives you. Pretty insane, wow. Go with the check jam, with the nuts. Well, nuts at a redraw. Brandon with the lower end of the straight, only drawing to a chop, and well, Phil going into the second break of the day, up around about, we believe, 120,000 or so, almost doubling his overall results. 50k pot going his way there right at the end, and we are meant to be going into a 40-minute break. Was it in 7 minutes time, as Nate already alluded to. Brandon sitting out somewhat prematurely. If we receive a text whilst we're on break that today's session is over and done with, which could be the case, we are unsure about penalties for quitting sessions early. As far as we know, there aren't any. But, Nathan, but after today's session and after, well, you know, coming in down 146 and now finds himself down close to almost 300,000, you could excuse anyone for wanting to call it a day a couple of hours earlier than planned. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are back from break. And well, for those of you that can see the tables,
ouch,
you may have already noticed that they are duplicates, and that is because they are. So the word in, or coming in from break, is that we will be one tabling to see if Brandon gets something going, as we believe that the account balance is running on the low side. Now, that does not mean that the match will be over. It does not mean that he will be throwing in the towel, but it does mean that if Phil stacks Brandon these final 20,000, then we will be calling it quits for at least today. And if we learn anything from the Chance Corners match, well, yeah, it could be quite the hassle to get money onto the site. So where are you now, mate? You're at the MGM, right?
Give me 2 seconds. We have an interesting pot. 3-bet by Brandon Adams to this 4-9 jack board where he bet half pot. 7 of hearts, putting out obviously the 10-8 straight. We got some flush draws working here. And this is not a board that should theoretically be all that favorable to Brandon Adams outside of some high-end flush draws. But he still is going with a 2/3 sizing. So interested to see how Phil reacts. Pappy's asking, is Brandon down to his case cheese online? More or less, that's kind of what we're understanding. That's why we're playing one table right now. We're playing 2 tables out throughout the course of the day. Phil is up 125,000. They win on break, and here we are. They requested to go down to 1 table. There's some WSOP funding issues, so we're not quite sure on the details because Brandon has reloaded several times on this table. So Phil just calling. We talked about this before, Henry. Phil just calling here is going to weight him towards having high quality draws, way too much EV to fold, but he doesn't believe he has any fold equity, and he didn't have any direct, equity. I wouldn't be surprised to see Phil snap this with a straight, but he doesn't. So if he's not calling with a straight, I'm not sure what he retains in his range here to call. Maybe
Spades, I guess. Maybe a hand like 2-pair, no redraw on the flop.
Jack 9.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have any real 2-pair combinations on the turn that are calling on that board texture versus getting it in with a redraw. So if he had 2-pair with a flush draw or a straight draw, I think he'd just get it in on turn. Check raise from Brandon Adams on this board. 9 coming in on the turn, completing the only recognizable straight out there. So now we have this complete rainbow board texture. And Mr. Adams is betting 2/3 pot. So obviously Brandon was representing wraps, top 2 pairs, sets on the flop. And by continuing betting here, he's saying they had a wrap that made on turn. So interested to see if he barrels river, and if so, how Phil will react to that. Inconsequential 5 of diamonds does barrel, saying he made the straight. It's a pretty credible line, since Phil can easily have the same amount of nut straights as him.
Yeah, it certainly is. Haven't really seen Brandon get too out of line. Obviously a very small sample.
This isn't a chance
So far
corner.
today.
Chance in these spots could show up with like queen, deuce, deuce, deuce. Does get the fold back up to a $34,500 stack.
Dang, bro.
Check raise. All right, we got all the straight draws. Literally all the straight draws: 3s, 4s, 5s, 7s, 8s, 10s, jacks, queens, and hearts. That's a lot of equity out there. So
The only river card that does not complete a straight is an ace.
And
Oof.
Jack.
Oh, only one straight completed on that river.
So I feel like Phil is obviously going to ship it here with any set. Um, Kings and nine. How shallow do you go on your shipping at range? For value, not as bluffs.
I think we jam King 9.
For sure, I agree on King 9. King 6? I think he's going to do King 6. What about King Jack 9?
King Jack 9. Picks up second up flush draw on the turn to go along with his top 2.
Ace on the river. Barry Greenstein has arrived.
Oh wow, we just get the lead jam. I mean, it makes sense, right? All the Jack 9-8 plus hearts brick gets fun if you have ace X of hearts here, right?
Just a solo Ace X.
Yeah, preferably. I mean, it's gonna have to be something like
Ace 4?
Ace Queen 4-6, like something that unblocks the.
Almost exactly on cue. He had actually top 2. I'm surprised it took that long. Not sure why.
Wow. Well.
How the tables turn.
Yeah, this is something we haven't seen for quite some time now, and to be honest with you, I'm pretty shocked. I honestly am, especially when we had a couple of days notice coming into today. They've also taken a few days off, so one would assume that things have been put in place, everything has been hashed out. 22nd until the 29th. Gonna finalize, gonna play these 10k hands out. Gonna get this over and done with. To now having an empty bank balance, man. I don't know what to say. I mean, you called it. You did call it.
I think we can both say it's wildly unexpected. This is not what we thought was going to happen. This is not how we thought it was going to happen. And to be fair, I'm not even sure what we've witnessed as of right now.
Yeah.
I think we've witnessed
neither am I.
Phil win 150,000 today. I think we've witnessed day 1 of what's supposed to be 9 days, but I don't know if it's day 1 is now day over. I think we're going to have to wait on the good word of Phil as to what the future holds for this challenge. Henry, I mean, if it's unclear at this time if they're continuing tomorrow and we're not sure when we're going to hear back from them, I guess we call it for today and take to the social medias once we hear from Phil. For
sure. As far as I know, well, the last text message I got. So I said no stream tomorrow, I guess, until it gets funds on. Phil responded, unclear at this point. It's easy to get funds on there in the past. It'll either be on or done for good, I believe. So anything we hear will be announced on social media within the next 24 hours. And if we do not return tomorrow, as always, appreciate you guys keeping us company, even if it was just for the one stream. And I believe we're going to be sending you over to my team stream now. And you'll either be seeing Nate and I tomorrow, and if you're not, then we'll see you on the live felt.
Absolutely, and let me get that in the chat. Let's see if I can mess this up 1,000 different ways from Sunday. Oh, Overbet
there
Express. So, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you being here time after time. Please check out Henry Kilbane's newest venture, Overbet Express. Hope you all enjoy it, and hope to be back here tomorrow with you. I'm Nathan Gamble alongside Henry Kilbane for the Galfond Challenge. Take care, everyone.
Peace.